so desperately to have someone to put the blame onto.
A small town torn apart, then a stunning aftershock. Amidst the debate about whether this well-liked 10th grader intended to commit suicide while taking 2 innocent lives, Justine's family makes a move no one expected.
Why would you stoop to something like that?
When we continue. As the seasons pass in northern Montana, 16-year-old Justine Winter is facing murder charges, accused of deliberately killing a pregnant mother and her son. It happened when she crashed her car minutes after sending her boyfriend frantic text messages, threatening to kill herself. The victim's family, racked with grief, is soon overcome with outrage when Justine's family files a lawsuit blaming Aaron Thompson, the woman killed, for the accident. Her husband is dumbfounded.
I come down to the door and here's this guy that hands me these papers to say that they're suing me for her pain and suffering. It was so absurd.
The lawsuit unleashes a wave of anger in this small Montana town, including posts on the newspaper's website. This is truly pathetic. She needs to spend the rest of her life in prison. And shame on you, Winter family.
When we found out that they had served him with that civil lawsuit, my reaction was, all that's going to do is agitate people. It's not going to change our minds on pursuing this prosecution.
At the same time, Justine is slowly recovering from her massive injuries and has no memory of the crash.
She had a bolt in her head. They had to relieve the pressure. And her neck was fractured. You notice a lot of difference in her mind capabilities sometimes?
You could tell that she had a harder time remembering things sometimes.
High school counselor Laurel Eckern worked closely with Justine when she went back to class.
You cannot define Justine Winter by what happened on March 19th. She's passionate, driven, caring. She's a good kid, and I can tell you right now it's exactly what she is. She's a kid.
A kid now facing a possible 200-year sentence. January 2011, nearly 2 years to the wreck, Justine Winter is on trial for double homicide. 2 small-town families now bound in grief and anger. Prosecutors lay out their case.
Winter's vehicle had crossed the center line.
4 grueling days of crash reconstruction.
Tire marks, marks in the road.
And detail about skid marks and fluid patterns.
Justine Winter's car encroached into the northbound lane, striking Mrs. Thompson's vehicle.
State crash investigator Barbara Watson testifies that construction on the bridge that night brought the road down to 2 lanes, and that Aaron had nowhere to turn when Justine's car careened into her lane at 85 miles an hour.
And Miss Thompson was going how fast?
Approximately 31 miles per hour.
Justine was accelerating full throttle at 85 miles an hour. My wife had been trying to slow down and wasn't able to get off the road, and I could only imagine how terrified she was.
And then the testimony turns to those desperate text messages between Justine and her boyfriend in the half hour before the crash. To the prosecution, clear evidence that Justine was a distraught teenager bent on suicide. Her weapon, a 2-ton Grand Am barreling 30 miles over the speed limit on a country highway.
I want to kill myself. Goodbye, Ryan. I love you.
Lead detective Kip Tkachuk reads out the texts.
That's why I'm going to wreck my car, because all I can do is up. Because I wanted to kill myself. I wanted you out of my car so I could do what you told me I couldn't.
And then this final text from Ryan, just 6 minutes before the crash.
Do the right thing. All your life you're a puppy and you run from instead of facing it. You killing yourself is just another way for you to run away.
The prosecution calls boyfriend Ryan Langford.
When you were at Justine's house, did you see items in her room that caused you to get mad?
Yes.
What did you see?
A journal about one of my friends that she had dated previously.
Ryan testifies the two argued all evening.
Coming up on 2020 on ID, it seemed like any wreck on a wintry night. 2 cars, 1 frozen bridge, opposite directions.
I lost my heart, I lost my life, I lost my entire family.
But was it an accident or deliberate? When a teenage girl in a lover's quarrel keeps texting at the wheel.
I want to kill myself. Goodbye, Ryan. I love you.
Is it a suicide attempt or murder?
He killed my boy.
It was an accident.
What would the jury decide?
To the charge of deliberate homicide.
Texting on trial. And a Saturday night encounter. She meets him and both their lives change in an instant.
He pulled off my pants. He was hitting me.
He goes on trial.
I was charged with rape in the first degree.
So why did she end up in prison?
I see the truth. I did what I had to do.
Unintended Consequences. Hello and welcome to 2020 on ID. I'm John Quinones. We often make decisions, good and bad, that we believe will affect only us. And if we're lucky, we're right. But what happens when one person's action has devastating consequences for someone else? Can you ever truly right a wrong? As Deborah Roberts first reported in 2011, one high school student learned there are some things you simply can't take back.
She's the picture of a fresh-faced teenager, yet Justine Winter is about to learn whether something she did at age 16 will land her in prison for decades. It all started on a late winter evening in the Flathead Valley of northern Montana. Justine's dropping off her boyfriend at his home. At the same time, local resident Richard Pebble is in his car too, heading home. And at the Kalispell Middle School, Erin Thompson has just watched her 13-year-old son, Caden, perform in a school concert.
He was in jazz band. Drums was his big passion.
Caden's grandmother, Diana Johnson. Well, how was he as a little teenager?
High energy, very intelligent boy. He was one of 3 students that was asked to play at this concert, so Erin was attending that concert with him that night.
Erin begins the drive home, aglow with pride for her teenage son, and with something else. She'd found a later-in-life true love, Jason Thompson.
I knew when I met Erin, she knew my heart, and I knew hers. It was right from the start we were in love with each other.
The two soon marry and begin a life together. 3 years later, a baby is on the way.
I didn't want anything more than just to raise family together. And to know that I was going to be with her for the rest of my life was a culmination of all my dreams, really.
It's just past 8 p.m. when Erin, now 4 months pregnant, and Caden, her son from a previous relationship, pull north onto Highway 93. Unbeknownst to Erin, driving in the opposite direction is Justine, a popular straight-A student.
She was smart. She was pretty outgoing. She really liked to talk to people and make new friends.
Desiree Landon grew up with Justine, sharing good times and grown-up dreams, like learning to drive. For her 16th birthday, Justine had just gotten a car.
How excited was Justine about having a car and her license?
Oh, we were so excited. We were stoked.
But Desiree had concerns about her friend's new boyfriend, 17-year-old Ryan Langford. His relationship with Justine would come to matter more than anything else that night.
Was Justine's relationship with Ryan a positive one? Was it a good one from what you could see?
No.
Why do you say that?
Because she wasn't hanging out with any of her friends. She spent all of her time with him. She was a different person. She was all about Ryan.
Justine was in love, or so she thought. She and Ryan kept each other's pictures on their cell phones. But on this evening, they're arguing over an entry in Justine's journal about an old boyfriend. Ryan is angry and jealous. Justine terrified of losing him. Their fight escalates even as she heads home, because she's doing something she and her friends know they shouldn't, texting while driving. Justine ignores those warnings and starts sending Ryan a flurry of frantic text messages. Goodbye, Ryan. I'm telling the truth.